Hey everybody, this is our first ever virtual sewing party. I've never done a live video before, so this is pretty exciting. And the idea behind this was that I wanted to build more of our community. You know, when I'm talking with my friends, we all the people who are like our age, my age, we sew at night after our kids have gone to bed. And I know that's also common for a lot of you too, so I was like, why not? Let's do this. We are gonna wait for a few minutes to see some more people joining us. And just, what? So we are sewing this flag quilt tonight. This is gonna be really fun. So there are, all of these little pieces are cut out in our kit, and that's going to be really fun to make. We are, this is an exciting launch. It's from another pattern designer. She's actually my sister-in-law, and we've been quilting together for a while. There's no video. Oh, are we having some technical difficulties already? Okay, now is it on? Sorry, we are new at this. So I'm just waiting for my husband. Calvin is here. We're working together on this. The kids are, well, they were almost in bed, and then we had Grandma and Grandpa come over so they could help us out a little bit. Looks like, is it working now? Okay. So it looks like our video is good. I'm also going to see where I have my comments. All right, there we go. Now I see that you guys are saying that. So like I said, this is all new, but we're gonna get it figured out because we wanna do one of these every week so that we can like interact with you guys. So because the screen was black, now you get to see this again. So this is our project that we're working on tonight. This is our Floral Flag Quilt Kit. The pattern is called Everlasting Freedom, and it's actually from my brother and sister-in-law. They have been working with us on making some new patterns, and this is the second one of theirs that we featured. So we worked together to pick out the fabrics, and it's so exciting. I love it, and I don't even mind that we're gonna have two around here because it's so cute. So we're gonna also be working from the kit. This is a pre-cut kit. We have these on our website. We just posted them like 20 minutes ago. And I'm gonna show you like what's in these. But while we're getting started, I just wanted to kind of get to a feel of who is out here tonight. So comment in the comments, leave where you're sewing from and what decade you're from and how long you've been sewing. That way we can kind of see like, you know, who's up at this hour of the night with their sewing machine. And we can just get started in this. So let me show you what we've got. So this is how the kit looks when you get it, and it's so fun to just pull it out and see everything we've got. So we've got our little note. This is included in all of our kits, and it just gives you contact information if there are any issues. We want to make sure that everyone's able to make what we've got. So the squares for the blue are all cut out, and the white squares as well as the blue pieces, these are all cut. So that makes it go really fast. These ones are cut initially. We call it needing subcutting. So the subcutting required is really minimal. It goes really fast. And it just gives you a little bit more flexibility in exactly how your piece looks. We have it in this one and in the white. These are the whites that will be featured in the kit. And then these are the ones that will be the binding. All right, and then we've got two people have A couple people have commented. Idaho from the 70s, okay. Late 50s from northeastern Ohio. It's later for you guys there. That's awesome. Thanks for joining in. And got some Alabama from Delaware. This is fun. I didn't expect a lot of East Coast people because it is a little bit late, but I'm glad you guys are here. So this is how the kit looks. It has all these pieces. This one's the binding, and then it also has the backing, and that's all included. So you have all the fabric you need to just sit down and start sewing. We are gonna add in some music now. All right, I see someone commented, been quilting for more than 30 years. That's awesome. I get asked a lot how long I've been quilting. I started when I was 13. My grandma started teaching me, and I'm now 28. So more than half my life, I have been learning how to do this kind of stuff. We're gonna set the kit aside, but like I said, these are available right now. I think we have 94 in stock today. And if you purchase anything from our site, the whole site wide is, oh, I forgot these pieces, is 10% off with the code Quilt Party. So anything you want to grab, we have this and so many other patriotic quilts and patriotic themed things ready to go. There's so many cute things we have coming up right now. And I know there is a way that I can put that on the screen. I'm trying to figure out how to do that real quick. So I'm also curious, which of you guys are making anything special for America's 250th birthday? Because that's kind of where this came in. So I have that link in there now. And you can use the discount code when you check out. This is the first run we've done of this. So if you want these exact same fabrics, then now's the time to get it. Because when we do other runs, sometimes we have to sub in other things. And I know for a fact that the little jars print is already gone. I won't be able to get any more of this one. So if you want one of the jars print too, then get it now. But yeah, if you are doing anything special for the 250th birthday, I want to see what you got because it's so fun to see all these different patriotic things that are coming out this year. I have already taken apart my kit and started sewing some of the pieces just to make it go a little bit faster for us. So I'll show you what I have and what I've already started with. So these are my 2.5-inch squares. I'm not going to go into all the details of like every size of everything we need from the pattern because it is not my pattern, right? And I don't want to share all those details because supporting, buying the pattern supports families, and we're all just, you know, trying to make it work. So these are the pieces that I already have. And I will show you something really cool in this pattern is we have all of these helpful like diagrams and stuff, which is huge. But we also have labels. So you can take this page and cut it or copy it and then cut it. But you can cut this out, and then as you're getting your stuff cut and piled up so you know what you're sewing with, you can use all these little labels to put them in the right spot so you know what you're cutting. Because you know sometimes you're like, oh, I cut this shape out and now where does it go? It disappeared, but that helps. So one quick thing about it is it has cutting instructions if you get it without the kit. It also has instructions for the sub cutting if you get it with the kit. So we are going to start by doing the red and white and cutting those pieces that we need from these strips. And like I said, it's very minimal, so it's just a few little cuts and then we'll be ready to start sewing. It looks like Kel Quilts, you're fairly new and you're working on your 5th project. Well, this is so fun. We can work together tonight. And I'm like, in the future, we might be able to get these kits like listed beforehand so that we can work on them together. I am gonna switch my screen so you can see my little cutting mat. Okay. There we go. All right, got the cutting mat. And we are gonna start cutting apart some of these strips. So in our kit, we have a bunch of assorted pieces. Some of them have yellow because the little florals in here feature yellow, and it's really cute. It just gives it a little pop, a little extra color, and it matches the florals, which I love. So in my cutting instructions, it says to take all six of the white strips and cut from that. Might have been too ambitious in how many I piled up here. So first thing, I'm cutting off the selvage edge, which is the little text and like the little fluffy end that they have at the end of the bolt. I just want to have, I don't want to have that in my project. So I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to start with the sizes that I need. All right, so we need a couple 10-inch pieces. And a couple smaller ones. And then these are our first little extra pieces, our little scraps. So set these aside. And I'm gonna double check my little labels to make sure that I have the right amount of everything that I need. So the squares already came pre-cut, and now I have my strips. It looks like I've got everything I need. I am not gonna cut out my labels tonight just because I want to save the pattern, and I haven't copied the piece, but I think it's super helpful to have that as an option. Okay, then I should have, just double counting. And then I think I saw some text flying around over here. Oh, it looks like I missed that edge a little bit when I was cutting that off, but luckily that selvage, that will be tucked in my seam. So I'm not worried about that. Okay, so now I have all my white strips cut, and I'm gonna do the same thing with my red strips. So I'm gonna refer back to my instructions and make sure I'm cutting this correctly. Aren't these florals so pretty? They are, most of these are from Lori Holt. And I just love, for this thing, like I love her designs. There's not a better option. So I'm counting these out because one of these strips will be saved for doing a different size cut than the rest. I think I'm gonna pick this one. It doesn't matter which one you pick. But one of them will need to be different. So again, if you love these fabrics and you want to guarantee you get these exact ones, if we have to sub, we do something that's really close. Like I'm good at finding pieces that are close for the next runs, but if you want this exact thing, you should just grab it now. Okay, so here's our red. And we're just gonna trim this off. After this live portion of this video is done, we are gonna leave this published onto our channel so that you can refer back to it if you need to when you're making the kit. So hopefully that is helpful. And I have made this before, but I'm double checking the pattern to make sure I don't mess up on camera because that would be embarrassing, right? Just kidding, you guys would understand. We all know how that goes. But if you end up cutting something incorrectly, we are happy to send replacements because we all know what that's like. That moment of like, oh no, I did it wrong. So for those of you who are watching, what is the biggest oops you've made on one of your projects? Hopefully that you can look back at and laugh now. Oh, it looks like we have some new people here, so welcome. If you're just joining us, we are making this flag kit designed by White-Crowned Sparrow Designs, which is actually my brother and sister-in-law. We are making the kit that comes with it tonight. So I'm working from the pre-cut kit. There's just a few pieces that we have to cut ourselves, and I'm just making sure that we've got that all taken care of and that I'm cutting it correctly. So welcome. All right, I'm ready to slice this. And then I'm just counting to make sure I have what I need. And the fun part of this is there's so many different prints in this, and you can just like mix it up. Like you can really just pick whatever ones you want, and when we put it together, it's gonna have a really scrappy feel, which I love. When I personally am making quilts, that is what I like to make them do. I'm sorry, I'm not very entertaining while I'm cutting just because I'm trying to focus and make sure we get it all right, right? And like I was saying at the beginning, this is a pre-cut kit, but the strips that come with it have to be cut out. So there's just a little bit of cutting that you have to do. The strips are already, like, it's just a strip that you have to trim, and it's super simple. And I'm just referring back to our pattern to make sure that I'm cutting everything correctly. And then we'll be able to get going on the rest of it. And this is our first time doing a live video, so like excuse that I might be a little shaky. I'm a little nervous. Not that I'm scared of you guys, I'm just scared of, you know, doing things wrong or something. So I'm just trying to focus, and I will get better at this as we go. So make sure you join me next time and you can say, wow, look how different it is. All right, and I'm just double checking to make sure I have the right number of everything that I need. 6. And then once I have these done, I'll get started onto the sewing stuff. Now I know we make the pre-cut kits, and I kind of get spoiled with it because like that's so easy, you know, but when I am working on a new pattern development, I have to really like make myself focus so that I can I have to make myself focus so that I can actually cut it out, because I feel like once I cut things out, my attention span is totally gone. All right, so it looks like someone's asking about where the kit is on the website. I'll link that again. So it's right here. You can buy it through this link. And I was saying before that for the duration of this video, you can get 10% off our entire website. And that is good until midnight tonight. So the code that you need is Quilt Party, all one word, and you can get 10% off everything, including this new kit. And this is our goal. We're gonna be able to get a lot of this done tonight because it's so fast and fun. Just to preface, I did do some work beforehand, and we have some of my stars. They're not actually stars, but they're stars on the flag. So it's like a very simple way to make this so cute. I have some of these already prepped, and now I have all of my little pieces cut, which you can label if you would like to. So I'm gonna jump in and show you how we're gonna do the blue. The first step that you need to do is mark the back of all of these little squares with either a pencil, a fabric marker, or anything that is not permanent. And I sometimes get lazy with this, and I'm like, whatever, I can just use this pen because it's right here. And I was really bummed because I made a Christmas present for my cousin this year, and it was so pretty. It was like a star quilt, and I had like a lot of like lighter color florals, and I used a pen that was permanent on the back and messed it up. So I had a bunch that I didn't actually need to cut in half. I was planning on doing them in half square triangles. I ended up not needing to do them in half square triangles. And then now there's lines on the back of that quilt. So it looks like the link isn't working for the flag kit, but we will link that in the comments here so you can see it and grab it now. But yeah, lesson learned again, because I've done that kind of thing before, but this one was like the most annoying one. So if you get the quilt wet, you can see like the pen that's like a line right through the middle of the fabric. And so we commented the link here. You should be able to grab that now through the link that's on there, in the comments. And as I've said before, so if you are just joining us now, this kit is going to be available for a long time, but if you want the exact same fabrics that I'm showing here, you should grab it tonight, because there's only 94 that are cut out of the exact same pieces. We end up needing to substitute fabrics based on like availability. And so far, I think all of these are available again, except for this cute little mason jar print that's like this yellow, like very soft yellow mason jars. That one definitely won't be in the next runs. but we just do it as long as we can, keeping it the same feel. So it might be slightly different Lori Holt fabrics, but it will still be the same style. And you will end up with a cute little scrappy flag. Another thing we have going on, so I've mentioned, like, I know 8 p.m. Mountain Time is 10 p.m. on the East Coast, but this is the time that works for us, for our family, because me and my husband both do this together. This is our full-time job. We have, I think, 8 employees, 8 full-time employees too, and we work somewhat from home. This is kind of home. We live on the same property as this warehouse is, and so upstairs we have this pretty little studio. Downstairs we have our cutting and storage warehouse where we ship all the orders, we cut all the kits. You should see the days that we cut our Minky panels because there's fluff everywhere. We have a great vacuum to clean it all up. But the good news about that is that our kids have access to us all day. So if we are working, me and my husband usually, we either have a babysitter in the mornings or we alternate which one of us is like actively working. Tonight I am having him help. He is helping me with the moderating. So our kids' bedtime is usually 7:30 and tonight they were just being a little bit later. So Grandma and Grandpa came over and helped them get to bed. So we'll see if they convince them that they needed to be up partying all night or if they are actually going to go to sleep, because they are cute little kids. We have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And then I don't know if you can see it as well from behind the thing, but I'm also pregnant and I am at 36 weeks today, which means that I am really tired of being pregnant, and that's just how it goes, right? It's a miracle, but it is a long process. So I'm tired, but it's okay because now that it's like the end of the day, the older kids are in bed, I get to just sit back and sew, and we can do this little sewing party. So now I have friends to do it with me. And I'm almost done marking these. So like I said, I did, you need to do 25 of these stars. And I did already do 15. So then I'll show you from here how we get to these cute little blocks. And I can even put them, oh yeah, there in the view, okay. So I'm curious, for those of you who have made, I think this is called an economy block. I don't know if this is called an economy block or if you add the extra layer on the outside, if that's when it's like an official economy block. I'm curious, for those of you who have made them, what is your like best tips and tricks? Because I have seen these, I've used these a lot in patterns that I've designed, but I've also seen these in all kinds of quilts. So I know there must be like a million ways to make them, but I'm just curious to see like what other tips you have. And it looks like, oh, someone said, so excited for you. Oh, is that Tammy Grover? Yes, so that's my mother-in-law. Thank you for helping us with our kids. She is very excited. She's a great grandma. Anyway, so if you have any tips on these, I would love to see how you guys make them, because this one works great for the pattern. It's a really simple method of making these squares, but if there's more tips, I want to learn everything, right? Like, there's always more to learn. And I am just marking from a diagonal line from corner to corner, trying to keep that really straight. Having this little tiny ruler helps because then I'm able to I'm able to like just handle a little piece instead of a big old giant ruler. I've collected lots of sizes, and I'm surprised at how often I actually use my 2.5-inch ruler. All right, so now we are ready to sew these. One tip that I have is we want to sew the same colors to the square. So we have these, and good. The kids, it looks like the kids are asleep. Awesome. That's good to know. So we have these blocks, and we want all 4 corners to be out of the same fabric, which means that when we have all these little squares, we need to match up 4 of the same. So I found that it was easiest to make myself a little pile of 4, and then I can pull from that as I go, and I don't have to think too much about how many I have already used. And if you're also like, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you might notice this desk is new. This is so cool. I just got this cabinet. We just finished installing it or setting it up yesterday. Not that the setup was terribly difficult, but I just got all my stuff loaded into the drawers and everything set up yesterday so that I could sew on it, and it is so fun. We are gonna be doing a full video on how it came, how we put it together. It came from Ken's Sewing Center in Alabama, and they are just delightful to work with. We have, I've been wanting a cabinet like this for a long time, and we finally just did it because I'm spending a lot of time sewing, and making it more comfortable and easier is really, it's really worth it for me at this point. So if you're looking into a cabinet, make sure you watch that video where I show like everything about it. The only thing was it was pretty heavy, and my husband had to get it up the stairs, and he did a great job. He had some friends come and help him. And if you have an upstairs sewing room, there's ways to make that easier than what we did. Okay, so I have all my little piles now of the florals. So there's 4 in each because we're gonna use 4 of those squares to go on these squares. And it looks like Nanette is coming from Texas and sewing for 45 years. Wow, that's really cool. And quilting for 25. That is awesome. There's so much fun in the quilting world. And thank you for the congrats on the new baby. We're excited for him. We don't know his name yet, but okay, so I wanted to show you this. So here's my line, and I'm gonna sew just barely to the side of it. That's gonna give us more fabric to work with. So if you sew directly on the line, when you fold this over, you're gonna have, sorry, this is a little tricky to demonstrate in the air, but you're gonna have like not quite enough on the edges. But if you sew next to that line, you're gonna give yourself just a little bit more, and then we can have a bigger block size. So I am just setting this down, and I'm gonna start sewing next to that line. And we're gonna do my favorite quilting trick, is called chain piecing. I swear by chain piecing. It makes it so much faster and so much more enjoyable when you can get everything done at one time, or everything of the same done at once. So I'm lining up my little squares and putting it on my white squares, and then we're just sewing next to that line. And then I have pulled from these 2 piles, so I'll set them over here. Let's zoom in a little bit on what I'm working on here. So now you should be able to see a little bit closer how this looks. And our fun little adventure we get from doing the chain piecing. It's like making a ribbon or something. I love how it's just fun. And so here's our little tail that we have. It's running into the sample that I have in front of here. This is how it's gonna look when we're all finished. And it's just so fun to make these little kits because they're so easy to put together. And like I was saying, like I'm cutting out new things And I just get so bored after I cut it out. I want to do something else. And this keeps that from happening to everyone else too. So pre-cut kits are awesome. And if you guys have any questions on like what I'm working on or how I'm putting it together, please leave a comment, because I want to know like what is confusing or what tips and tricks you have. That way it's like an actual sewing party, you know, like we can all be here together. Keep forgetting if I've already pulled from these piles. Okay, that one I have pulled from. Okay. I also have extra of the white, so I have more than I need. And I'm just gonna grab like, so I'm just gonna go until I'm done with my piles here. And this is another one of the prints that will definitely be featured in every one. It has like a creamy white background and then some little tiny subtle flowers and dots, and they're in yellow, which pulls out the cute yellow that's in the other florals. And it just looks so good when it's all together. I'm also obsessed with the reds in this because it's not like red, it's Lori Holt's colored Tea Rose. And so it's a little bit more pink. And it's like bright and really fun. So I should have 10 of these now. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, okay. So I might have to do some seam ripping here. Let's see what we've got. So I'm gonna just cut these apart. When you do some chain piecing and you have this little cute ribbon, you need to cut them apart afterwards so that you can do the next steps. I'm just going to double count. I might be missing some pieces. Let's see. 1, 2. Oh, I did. I already sewed them into other pieces. I forgot my strips. I already made some of the strips. Okay. Everything's fine. I was like, where did those go? But all is well. So I'll just pick one of these and we'll pull out the little square. I'll just start sewing with the other things first, and then that will tell me which one I need to change. It's pretty cool that I'm already, you know, like a little bit into this project, and I've only needed to get the seam ripper out once. That's nice. I've had worse. Looks like D. Williams just bought 2 flag quilt kits. That's awesome. I'm excited for you because these are so fun. And I've seen flags before, and I'm kind of like, you know, they're great. Like flag quilt kits are really fun. They're all great, but these ones are just extra special. It's the perfect size. If you look at the pictures on the website that I have like with the kit, you can see I have it like on the back of my couch. It's like the perfect size. And then we also have like how it looks like when you're holding it. It's a great wall hanging size. And we also learned, so I mentioned this is my sister-in-law that designed this pattern. When we were working together on like the details of it, we also learned that there's like a technical right way that the flag has to be hung. And it's that the blue section is in the left-hand side. And we were both like, that looks so backwards, but okay, like we don't want to mess with the official, you know, like how it's supposed to be. So we it mentions in the pattern how to do it that way or how to do it the other direction. That to me feels more like how the flag would be if you're hanging it horizontally, but I'll show you what I mean when we get to that point. So for those of you who are joining in, what projects are you working on tonight? Because this is new, so I don't know that you're working on this one, but I would love to hear about what you're making and we can, you know, work together. We have I have a lot of family members that sew, and this space up here, this like little studio that we have set up is really fun because we have a big, huge table right across from me. And on that table, we try to do we don't have like a scheduled Saturday night sewing party, but we've been doing that a lot lately. And it's so fun, which is why I wanted to do some of the virtual sewing to see, you know, to do it with more people. Okay, so here we have our next little chain ribbon. Part with my little clippers, and then we'll do the big scissors to cut off the edges. I have my big scissors. I don't trust this blade this long that close to my little stitches, but I'm just going to chop off the edges and make some quilting confetti here. You just want to be careful when you're doing this that you don't get too close. You can use a ruler and rotary cutter to make sure that you're just doing a 1/4 inch here, but I am just eyeballing it here. So don't get too close to your stitching. It's better to be a little wider than too narrow. Okay, I was double checking that I had 10. That's what I need for now because I already made 15 of these earlier. You need 25 little stars, 25 little economy blocks that become stars. And the good news is in the pre-cut kit, we have just a few extra of the white and the blue little squares included, so that if you have an oops, we have got you covered. But like in all of our kits, if you ever have things that you mess up on, or if we accidentally sent the wrong number of things, then we will replace it. You just have to let us know. It comes with this little paper slip in every kit, and it has our email address, so you can just email us through there and we'll get you all taken care of. So let's see, now we have our ironing that we need to do. I'm going to scoot this over just so we can pull this right into the frame here. And I'm going to start with ironing these blocks. You just need a little tiny section. So there's a few options you can do on these economy blocks. The pattern says to iron or to press the seams with the seam going towards the blue. And that's really good because it hides the, like when you press towards the darker fabric, it hides the fabric behind it. Like if you have pressed it towards the white, you'd be able to see it. You could also press these seams open and that would have a good result too. But I'm just gonna follow what the pattern says and we're just gonna press the seams to the sides here. And it looks like we've got some questions. Okay, so someone's making a lot of baby blankets over the last 2 years. About to make the second one. Baby blankets are great because they come together really fast. And then, oh, it looks like we lost sound. Can you guys hear me or is that just the one computer? Let's see, we'll figure this out. Is there sound now? Is it working? I'm getting comments that there's no sound. Can you see if it's working? Okay, I'm seeing kind of a mix of comments, so I'll keep going. I'm not sure what happened that the sound disappeared for some of you, but we'll keep going and see if it comes back. And as I've said at the beginning, this is our first time going live, so we're still troubleshooting. We're still learning how this all works, but eventually we're gonna be like pros and this is gonna just feel like a normal Thursday night we're gonna sew together. So I'm just taking all these little pieces and I'm pressing the seams this way. Pressing it this way also saves you a little bit of time as opposed to like pressing the seams open. And they're so cute. Look at this little happy little stripe. It's just such an easy block and it's so fun to have like fussy cuts in the middle or for this, it just gives the quilt so much more dimension than like a normal square because it turns it on point. And I just think this is so cute and simple. Okay, so now we have our little guides lined out. I left this one because I think I need this one in another spot. So I'm gonna sew these together first. And at this point, we're not gonna worry about any overhang we have here. This one is just a little bit off the edge. We're gonna line up our squares with the original white, and that's gonna help make sure that everything stays nice and neat. And I know some pattern designers prefer to like have a lot of extra fabric so that you can square more off in your blocks. I'm not that style. I do close, like your block is gonna be close to what the finished block will be. I think that just is better and easier to handle than having like a lot of extra fabric and a lot of waste. So if you're used to that on other patterns, this is a little bit different. There's still gonna be room to square things off, but it's going to be maybe less than what you're used to. It just depends on who you've been sewing with before, because if you've done a lot of my patterns, then you know what I mean. Like these blocks are really close to the finished size. And that's like my goal, my plan. So when I'm doing this chain piecing, I leave my needle in the down position so that I can lift up my foot to grab the next piece. Yeah, I see in a comment, it's a great tip to sew on the right side of your line. It's such a little change, but it's such a game changer. Like, it makes the finished thing so much better. I don't know why rules like that work, but they do. Oops. Oh man, getting something off the floor when I'm this pregnant is like, that was like a lot of work. So it looks like in my distracted talking and quilting at the same time, I might have sewn the wrong pieces here, and that's okay because like I said, we have extras in the kit. So I'll just go with, I had a few extras of this blue checkered piece, and that's what I need on some of these pieces. All right, so now we have 3 of our sides done on these. I'm gonna cut these apart and do the same thing I did last time. I'll save all the ironing for the next step, or I'll do that all at once after I trim them. And it looks like we have in the comments that do we have just the pattern for sale? We will have that up. It's not uploaded yet, but we will have that available for purchase too. Because some of us do have a little bit of fabric at home, right? We have a little stash. And if you have the perfect colors for this, then I totally understand just needing the pattern. So the more you follow along with us, the more you're gonna see of our family. Our kids are just part of this business. Like up here in this little studio, we have a little playroom section for them. They don't stay in there as much as I thought they would, but they love like getting to be part of it. And as a mom, like it's so fun for me to get to teach my kids like the industry that I'm in. My little 4-year-old boy has been working on his own quilt. So he goes through my scrap strips and he just like picks out random strips and we sew them together, and I'll show you when it's done because it's really cute, like the things that he's picked to go together. And then If you are just joining us, I'll show you this sample again in a minute. We are making this pattern, and it's a kit with all these different florals, and all in like the red, white, and blue. And anything that you want to get on our site is 10% off right now. So since you're watching the live, we appreciate it and we want you to come back, but it's 10% off anything on our website if you use the code Quilt Party. It's all one word, and these kits are available. This is their first day. We will be sending out an email tomorrow, and the emails usually have a good response from people. So if you want to get yours and get the 10% off, then now is the time to grab that. All right. So on these ones, we've got these all sewn together. We're going to clip these edges off after we cut apart the chain piecing. And more quilt confetti with these little tiny pieces that I'm cutting off the edges. I swear these like little trimmed off pieces end up everywhere, like stuck to my pants, in our laundry, all over the ground. Like, it doesn't matter how careful I am with them. They just are, they reproduce. So calling them quilt confetti makes it more fun. And I mentioned before, but when you're cutting these excess pieces off, make sure that you are using, that you are not going less than 1/4 inch, because you want to be able to have like a good seam here. If you're nervous about that, then use a rotary cutter and a ruler and measure it. But for me, it's just faster to use the scissors. And we just put the discount code in the comments if you wanted to grab that, and you can see how that's all lined out. Okay, next we're gonna press these seams open, or not press them open. We're gonna press these seams. So I'm scooting my little ironing mat over here, and I have my little envelope. Just open it up and put this on and press those open. And we can see the start of our little block. I absolutely adore having these mini irons for quilting. It's just like, I don't know, they fit better in your hand and they're lighter weight. So when you're doing little piecing like this, it's just so easy to be able to have this tiny iron. And they come in every color. Like, they thought of all the fun things. We have right now on our website, we have the K facet version. We get the Tula pink ones in as often as we can. This one is just the color called raspberry. And they're just all so fun. I think we have turquoise and yellow and a coral too. Okay, so I am going to show you next about we're going to square off some of these blocks, but like I mentioned, some quilt pattern designers leave a lot of excess so that you have more room to square off. These are pretty close to what you're going to be using. So let's come over here and we can square these blocks. I have a 2.5 inch ruler here, which is helpful, but not necessary. If you are using the 2.5 ruler, I'll show you how, but here, this block got a little wonky. So we definitely need to square it. But you can line it up with any other size ruler, and you just want to make sure that your white part is as centered as you can get it. And I'll just do one with this. So I know that 1 1/4 is half of 2 1/2, and I want that to be in the center line. So I'm lining up this, I'll bring that more into the frame here. So I'm lining up my 1 1/4 line right on the point of each of those, and then I will cut off any excess over here. Now it does not look like I cut off very much because I didn't cut off very much, but these little tiny cuts go a long way in making sure that the whole quilt turns out good. Because now on this side we have a little bit, oh, that was a horrible sound. We have a little bit more to trim off over here. And then we're gonna repeat the same process right here. So 1 1/4 is lined up on each point, and then I trim off the excess. That's how I am getting a centered square. And I know this is a rotating mat, but for me, I just work better picking up the piece and actually moving it. Okay, so now that block that felt really wonky is actually really nice and clean. So we'll set that over here. And now I'm gonna square up the rest of these with my 2 1/2 inch ruler. And on the 2 1/2 inch ruler, it's easy because I can just lay it out, line up that line, and now I can just go all the way around. So for any of you who have been sewing for a long time, especially or if you have kids around, how do you do it? Because here we are sewing at 8 p.m. because I get a little bit flustered when my kids want to sit on my lap and they start pushing buttons in the middle of sewing and changing my attention as I'm going and all of that kind of thing. So I'm curious, did you do it after bedtime like this, or were you more patient and had them sit on your lap? Because I struggle with that. I really want to know, especially if you were sewing other things that require even more attention than the quilts. Give me all of your parenting advice. All right, so now we have these little blocks. We really didn't trim off that much. So honestly, on this pattern, you can skip this step. But for me, I know that my quilts turn out a lot better if I take the time to trim off these little hairs, because I know that what I'm working with is more accurate. So let's bring it back over here to the machine. Feeling a little less jittery now, so that's good. More comfortable here. And then this is the one that I left behind a minute ago. I'm going to finish this up. I'm not sure exactly how I miscounted, but I think it's just the being on the live and being a little nervous that I didn't quite get things counted properly, or I wasn't paying attention to my piles and which ones I was grabbing from. But it's all good. I'm fixing it now. So I just need to borrow this square off of this piece, and match it to the other one. The first time I made this block, this economy block, and I hope I'm saying that right, they're calling it the right thing. I think it is. But there's so many names for all of these like traditional blocks. It's hard to know what some people call it. Anyways, the first time I made them, I actually did it as an I Spy quilt. And that was the original I Spy quilt that I made. That was the inspiration behind our Hidden Pictures panels. So it had like, I don't even remember how many pieces I gathered, but I did 2.5-inch squares, and then I had the outside edges. So this was like started as a 2.5-inch square, and they're all fussy cut. They're not all different fabrics, but they're all different images. So like some of the fabrics had like sushi, and I just used like, in the quilt, there's like 2 different sushi rolls from it. And when like my kids love it, but when I saw how big of a pain it was to make those is when we had the idea for the I Spy quilts. So that's how that happened. And it was an economy block that started it all. And it wasn't that the block was difficult, it's just that the tedium of collecting hundreds of different fabrics to make a quilt that was all different, and it had all these different I Spy things. And I found some weird stuff. I have one fabric that has an ear on it, and I have like, on that quilt, I have some that have like realistic looking eyes, and they're kind of creepy, but it's fine because it's fun that it's all on there. And we're just finishing up these blocks, these stars. I'm glad I did some more prep of this earlier, so I think I'm gonna get a good feel for like what's fun to do together on this and what is like boring. And we'll get there. We're not necessarily new to YouTube, but we're new to doing like live things, and we're kind of trying to like restructure so I can do more of this kind of thing and less of the boring stuff that I have to do on the computer. So this is fun for me. I'm gonna open this up and iron it. And then we'll square these off really fast. Let's see, there we go. All right, this one's pretty close. I just have a little guided trim right here. And then this one has a little bit extra. The other thing about sewing in the evening is, especially this month, like when spring is so nice and the weather's so nice, is I don't feel like I'm missing out on a day outside. So I'm going to jump back here to show you again where we're at with this. Now we have our little guys all sewn together for the top of the quilt, which is this part here. This is going to be our stars. Our stars, they're the easiest stars you're gonna make. And then we'll jump into sewing the strips. I have already done a couple of these strips, and there's only 2 different like variants on how these work. So you have all your dimensions listed here, and then you are gonna just add on and keep sewing more pieces like this. So there's two variants, meaning there's 2 different types of strips that you're going to be sewing together. And one has 4 of these economy blocks, and one has 3. The rectangles that go with them are also different sizes. And those are labeled as the, when you have your pattern label, these are all the labels that you can put with your little piles. Moving my seam ripper and stuff out of the way. All right, let's get back here to where you can see my machine. This is such a nifty little thing. I have like my iPad here that I can like see what you're seeing. So here's where we're at. So I am doing rows 1, 3, 5, and 7 are the ones with 4. And rows 2, 4, and 6 are the ones with 3. I'm going to stack these up this time so that I don't mess them up and have to spend time doing some seam ripping. So 4 of them will have 4 pieces. Oh, that's easy to remember. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And all I'm doing here is just trying to get an assortment of each of the economy block stars. And then I also need, for each of these, I need 3 of the label, let me make sure I've got that right, label G rectangle, which is the size that's a little bit bigger. So I need 3 to go with each one. I'm going to move this ironing out of the way for a second so I can lay these out and make sure I've got them going the right way. This is also a good point to lay out your entire quilt if you want to see how all of it plays together. But because I know I want this to have a scrappy look and I know I know that these squares all work nicely together, I am not going to take the time to lay it out. I'm just going to sew it because I know it's going to look cute no matter where things land specifically. Okay, so we've got some questions. How wide are the flag strips? So they start out as a jelly roll strip, which is 2.5 inches. But out of like respect for the pattern designer and everything, I don't want to share too much about like the actual dimensions. Because that is not my pattern and I just want to make sure that she gets all the credit for designing something so awesome. Oh, it looks like someone's from Fruitland, Idaho. We are just neighbors. That is right down the road from us. I will be driving through there tomorrow. This is exciting. I'm doing my first shop hop tomorrow. I have never done one of those. And I'm really excited because, yeah, I'm excited to go see a bunch of different shops in the area. So that's fun that you're on here, Marie. We are in Emmett, Idaho, which is just down the road from you. Okay, so now I am going to take these and start sewing them together. When you are sewing something like this that has like a plain piece of fabric and something with a block, always sew with the block side on top so that you can see where your needle is landing. You want your needle to land right on the cross of this seam so that you can get that really precise and you don't lose your corners. If you're just joining us, I love to see what locations you guys are coming from. So comment. And then the question I asked at the beginning was, how long have you been quilting? I want to see what kind of experience we've got out there tonight. And if you missed it, we also have 10% off. So because you're watching the live, you get 10% off anything on our site, including this new kit. Man, I am dropping these little pieces. I could probably stack these up and that would be easier so I don't lose them. But if you want the discount code, that is linked in the comments here. It's Quilt Party, all one word. And you can get this new kit or any of our kits, notions, pre-cuts, any of it, all 10% off as a thank you for joining us on our very first live sewing party. Okay, so there's one more of my strips. And what I'm doing here is chain piecing. So I have my arrangement lined out here of which things come next. I also have another tutorial on our channel. It's in my quilt skills library section, and it's all about chain piecing and how you can do like a whole quilt and make it so much easier to not mess up where the pieces are, is doing this chain piecing method. It's like, it was one of the best things I've learned about quilting. It just makes it so you don't make a mess of your stuff. Look how cute that little mason jar print looks in the middle of this block. I love fussy cuts, and I love scraps, and I love things that aren't normally on fabric to appear on fabric. Like, that's just delightful for me. And just so I can keep seeing where my corner meets, I flip this around based on what side I'm sewing, because I like to make sure my needle lands right in that little X of the block. It looks like we've got, oh, another comment from Meridian, Idaho. Okay, also right around the corner from us, and have been quilting for 2 years. Awesome. Curious, what have you been making in your 2 years of quilting journey? All right, we have these done. And now I'm going to press my seams. So let's bring this back into the view here. And these are the rectangles for the next step. Now, options of how to press seams. So you can press these seams open, or you can press them to the side. The difference being, if you press them open, your whole thing is going to lay flatter. This is all going to be like more flat. And it's also a little bit more time consuming to press them open. And so because I also don't want anything of the blue to show through on the white. For me, I am going to be pressing these all to the sides. When you are nesting seams, it's really important to make sure you're paying attention to which direction they go. But because this strip does not line up exactly with the other one, so this is the alternate piece, you can see these don't line up in the same spot for all of them, then you're not actually nesting seams. You're just gonna be matching where this goes. So you don't have to do, like, the direction's not as important on this as it is in some other ones. And then after I press from the back, I like to flip it around and press from the front just to make sure everything looks smooth. And I'm not pulling on it. I am pulling on it, but I'm not pulling on it too hard. I'm just giving it just a little tug to make sure that everything's flat. You don't want to stretch it. It's really important to not be doing that. Okay, now all of our rows of this kind are sewn together, and then we'll go to the next step where we sew the rows of three of a kind together. So I'll stack these all up, and we'll move the ironing board over. And we'll set this up so that we have, this one takes 4 of a kind of these rectangles and then 3 of the economy blocks. All right. Now I can slide these over and I'll start with this part. And we'll just start chain piecing these rows too. Looks like someone commented that all they can see is the cutting mat. Is that issue, has that been fixed now, or is that something you guys are all seeing? Because on my end, it doesn't look like I'm showing the cutting mat still. One really awesome thing about the live that I'm learning is that you can give me real-time feedback on technical difficulties, because it is very annoying when I make a tutorial video or something and I realize my camera hasn't been recording the whole time. Gosh, that is like, I don't know why that's so devastating, but it always is. So I like being able to see the live feedback. It's always interesting to me how little of the quilting process is actually like letting the sewing machine run. It's so much of like the lining things up and ironing and marking squares, like, and if you're not using a kit, cutting takes forever. But I think that's like, I don't know, when I first started, like I said before, I was 13 when I started quilting. So you better believe I was not patient enough to do all the steps. And I called it shortcut quilting. And I was very proud of my shortcuts that I came up with until I learned more and I learned why some things shouldn't be shortcutted, like squaring blocks and pressing seams. Those are all really important for making the overall quilt turn out good. And one of the coolest things is, so like, about how we started, we had a quilting machine, like the first, like after COVID and after all of that, we got a quilting machine, and that was like the start of Block Party Quilt Company, as I was doing mail-in quilting for other people. And I saw that there was so much need for some of those like really basic skills that my grandma taught me and that my aunt taught me. And I had another mentor who lives in the same town with me who let me use her quilting machine. And when I saw like, oh, things like squaring your quilt before the borders go on, like that's a huge thing for making your quilt look really nice. And it's really simple if you know how to do it. So we started our YouTube channel, and then we started doing the pre-cut kits, and now here we are. So I'm just sharing the knowledge that my grandma, my aunt, other mentors have all passed on to me. And then of course, as we are online, there's so much that you can see from other people too. All right, so let's take a look at how this is coming together. Let's see, I wonder what the best view will be for this. We're gonna zoom out a little bit on, okay, here we go. There we go. All right, back to the cutting mat here. We're gonna lay this out so we can see how our little top of our flag is looking. Oh my gosh, that is so fun. I love seeing it start to come together and looking at all of these beautiful pieces next to each other. It's just so fun. I am going to now, like the next step is that I take the red and white pieces and we sew those together to make the rest of the strips. But this is already looking so cute. So let's come back here and you can watch my machine again. Move that out of the way. And I will grab my red and white strips now. And these are different sizes, so you want to make sure you're grabbing the right size when you're sewing with these. Now in my pattern, I have these really great little diagrams that show me which of these pieces need to be sewn together. They're also lettered, no, because they're not numbered, they're done with letters. So when you have your label set up, it's really nice that you can just know exactly what you're grabbing. So I need 2 F pieces, which would be this one. Just gonna double check and measure. So for each of these rows here, I need 2 F pieces and 2 D pieces, which D is this one here. I'm also going to be making 4 of these rows together. So I just want to make sure that I'm getting a variety of pieces in this. So that's 2 sets. Three sets. And 4 sets to make this row. Now these pieces are extras for now. I'll just set them over here and we'll start sewing these guys together. So the little rectangles go on the outside of the row, where the 2 longer ones go in the center. We have a lot of like patriotic table runners, which have been really fun to make. Like I've had a lot of fun with those patterns. Our patriotic gnomes was definitely like, I had to do some mental gymnastics to figure out how to make them look like good. Because I don't know, when they had the pointy hat, they were just like not really doing it for me. So we came up with like the design that we have right now. And I think it's really fun. And I love adding like little trims, and we try not to do that in the kit because I know it can make it feel more complicated, but that one does have rickrack with it because it makes the pinwheels just look perfect to have the little rickrack. But other than like those table runners, I've never really done anything patriotic, and I love America. This is a great place to live. So this is like really fun for me because I'm like getting to use this flag, and but it looks so cute. And on the listing description, I have the picture of it like on the back of my couch. We went out into like a nature trail, and we took some of those pictures together with my kids. And then when we brought it home and I just like threw it on the couch and took that picture, I have many, many more pictures of them wanting to pose with it. And I was like, they were eating Cheetos and their little hands are all orange. And I was like, do not touch the quilt because I do not want to get that orange stuff off of this fabric. But all was well. They didn't do any damage. So it all turned out fine. It's just funny how they are. Like they love when I get my camera out and I'm taking these pictures. Okay, and then it looks like we are going to be doing So we sewed with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We pressed, and then we will press the seams either open or to the left. I am just going to press them all going to the left. So I know it's really popular to do like quilts of valor and donate them to like veterans and stuff. But how many people have like actually worked on those kind of projects? I know I haven't looked into it a ton, but I know that there's like certain like requirements for the quilts of valor quilts. And I think it would be really cool to participate more in those. I just haven't like really looked into it. I have a lot of respect for veterans and military and all the sacrifices that those people make for strangers. Like, I think that is so cool. I have a ton of respect for those people. And you know what I can do? I can quilt. So if I can pitch in with quilts like that, I think that's awesome. All right, so we have our red strips here. And then next we are going to be making some more of the white strips, which we have the like, they're not white, they're off-white, and they have like low volume prints too. I'm making sure that I'm getting the correct pieces. And we are going to be using the smaller ones and sewing sets of 3 together. And I will be making 3 sets of 3 strips. And after we are done with the live, this video is going to be available on our channel to watch anytime. So when you get your kit, you can sit down and watch it and sew it with me. Or if you are just seeing this after it has been posted, we are doing live videos of different things every Thursday night. And you will be able to see our new stuff as it comes out. We'll do a mix of like new things and then some of our like classic patterns. We're also going to be talking about those and sewing on those too. And this is coming together so fast. Like, I know an hour, I think we're an hour and 45 minutes into this, but for how much progress we've made on this quilt, that is insane. Skipping the cutting totally saves so much time. And it is like, it's the best way to treat yourself in making a quilt, honestly, is to get a pre-cut kit. Cause it's just, I don't know, you can just like sit down and then it's fun automatically and not like confusing or you have to think about it too much. And I know that part, especially for beginners, can be really, really intimidating. Okay, then we have 3 more rows. So these are the shorter ones that go at the top of the quilt next to the blue. And then we have more of the white that will take 4 of the longer strips and 1 of the shorter strips. And we'll just sew those together too. These come together so fast, it's fun. So I'll just sort these out into the piles, excuse me, because we need to do 3 sets of strips of things like this. So I'm just pulling out the pieces and making sure that I have a variety in each row, because we have the different prints that go with it. And the instructions specify that the short strip goes at the end of the row, just right at the end. So make sure we keep track of that as you go. And I'm just double checking to make sure that my short strip is on this side, and then I will be sewing the next pieces to the longer strip. Another fun thing about getting the kit is having like all these different prints that we already know look really cute together. Because I know, like, especially if you're buying online, the struggle of like knowing if the fabrics match or not is such a pain. And so having like all of the pieces match, you know that like low volume backgrounds, sometimes like their whites can be different shades, and that's just so annoying when you weren't expecting that. I just think it's really nice to have everything is matched and everything's gonna look really cute. Like all you have to do is sew it. And these little Lori Holt prints, and there's also some like Riley Blake basics, and I'm not sure which designer designed like the little yellow ones, but they just look so cute and so perfect together. So this one's done. Set that over here to be ironed. This one still has 2 more pieces left. And I mentioned earlier, I trimmed this and I didn't get all of the text off of the selvage. So I'm just gonna make sure that that is covered up in my seam. And if that means that I have to do a little bit wider seam allowance, just slightly above 1/4 inch, then I'll do that so that it's not showing up in my finished thing. We'll double check. See, no words, all is well. Now we'll press these seams. And we'll put them in their own little pile over here. Once these strips are like, really the longest part of this is sewing the blue section because those are the smallest pieces and you have to like do the stars. After that, these strips, like I didn't do any other prep work on these. I probably could have just to like make the video flow a little bit faster, but you're seeing like in real time how long it takes to make this flag kit. Looks like we've got a new comment. I am a man in Louisiana and I sat at a sewing machine for the first time about 2 years ago. I learned a lot from YouTube and I'm listening to you while I cut out some 3-yard quilts. Oh, fun. Well, thanks for joining. I love when men are quilting because they have such a different perspective on like all the, you know, like fabrics and patterns. Like it's fun to see everyone's different perspective, but men definitely bring more to the quilting industry. So thanks for joining. All right, so our next step, we have our size D red, which is our longer rectangles. And we are going to be matching them to our size E red, which is this set here. I'm gonna make sure that it's the right size. Okay, and then we will be making how many rows of these? 3 rows each of these that have 4D and 1E in each one. And I'm just trying to get an assorted feeling in this. So I'm picking the order at the same time that I'm doing this little layout. There's 4, another 4, and another set of 4. And then we have 1 of each of the smaller ones at each end. So we'll do some of these plaid. And look at how nicely that worked out. Everything's cut out and ready. It's perfect. Okay, and now we will start sewing these together again. If I put this one at the top, then I can do my chain piecing tricks a little bit easier. So I've actually never attended like a live quilting retreat. I had one scheduled for this year, but then I was really pregnant, so I didn't want to drive from Idaho to Arizona, and I'm sad I missed it, but it's okay. There will be more quilt retreats in the future. The only ones I've done are like ones that I've set up with family members, and like what I was saying earlier, when we have like sewing parties here later in the evenings. And it's so fun. I love being able to work on things with people. So seeing that you guys are out here, like just listening while you're cutting out your projects or working on your other stuff, it's so fun because like I know there are lots of people who are quilting late at night, and we might as well like join together and work on things at the same time, right? One of these got mixed up. Whoops. Let's see where we're at. So this one goes here. This one, there she is. She got switched. This machine is a Janome HD9 and I adore it. It's so fun. It's new to me and I love the black. Like, it's just such a fun machine. But the one thing about it that I really can't do with my kids sewing with me is there's a button that has this cute little like pair of scissors on it, and it cuts your thread and it lifts up your needle. And my kids like to hit it like as I'm sewing, and oh my gosh, I have like, it doesn't, like, I don't think it hurts the machine. It's probably not good for it, but it definitely surprises me, and then I react strongly because I don't like having my thread cut in the middle of a seam. And you know, it's just curiosity, so it's fine that they do that, but I definitely like prefer to sew without little people sitting on my lap. Except my son, like I mentioned that he's making his little quilt. It's so fun to see him like learning how it all works. And like when they're up here and playing, I always have projects going. Like behind me, all these bins and stuff, these are works in progress. And so there's always something that they can look at. And when I have like finished blocks, I let them take them and play with them, and they like pin them to the design wall. But they also realize that they can like pin them to the couch, and they can pin them to their toys. And so I find these blocks like just scattered all over up here. It's just funny how they want to help. All right, so we have all of our strips now. We are going to now assemble the flag part. So final seams means that we are going to start doing what it shows in here is all of the diagrams for how to put it together. I am going to take this space and we're gonna just lay it all out so we can see it at once and then decide exactly how things are gonna go together. So remove my ironing board for a minute. And speaking of my kids, I don't know where they put my pin cushion. That is important for this step. Since I'm not seeing the pin cushion, we'll use sewing clips today. That's gonna work better for this. All right, so I've got my clips out and I have my pieces. Oops. We are gonna start just laying this out similar to how it is on here. Obviously, my fabrics are in slightly different spots, so it's not gonna look exactly the same as that. And I love this sewing cabinet because I have so much space to just like lay things out. So I am just trying to look to see if this is a good setup for you guys to see what I'm seeing. I think we'll go to the overhead camera here. Let's see. The overhead camera is going to help. All right. There's so many little fancy things that we can do on this technology. And it's really fun. So here are my blues. Got all the blues lined up. I like the assortment. Yeah, I think that's gonna look really good. So next we have our white strips that were the white strips that had the 3 set. So that's one of the longer ones, longer ones, longer one, and here are my shorter ones. So these are all gonna go next to the blues up here at the top. And it starts with red. So the white goes on the second row down. And then our reds, we're gonna grab the short strips of the reds too and do the alternating ones here. And in the pattern, they recommend doing, oh, okay, no, so I forgot. These both have short ones on the end, so they're the same. Or as my daughter says, the same match. And I hope I don't sound like I'm just like complaining about my kids, because I'm really not. I don't feel bad about having them or anything. Like, they are such a fun part of my life. It's just, you know, not always convenient to sew with people sitting on your lap. And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So we have, these are our sets of like the white and blue that go together, and white and red, all the blues and all the whites that go together. On the pattern, we next have our instructions of sewing the next set down here. So there are, I'll show you the picture of the reference of the flag. There are 1, 2, 3 sets of each going down from here. And it starts with the white. Doing the layout, you have to do the layout at some point so you can make sure that things look nice. And that's why like this cabinet's really nice, because I can do a layout as well as like all the sewing in the same spot. There's also like, if I wanted to do a more like in-depth, I could drop my sewing machine down pretty easily, and then this becomes a whole flat workspace that I could put it all out at one time. And I think this pattern is just designed so wonderfully, because look at how like these pieces don't crash into each other. They, like, if you have this scrappy look going on too, they like, it just balances so nicely. Like, she did such a good job writing this pattern. It's so fun to sew it together because of how well it's made. All right, so I can fit my whole layout here, and that's so awesome. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is a horn cabinet. I can put the model number in the comments too. And it's like, it's just a dream. I love this thing. I've only had it for a couple days, but it's awesome. So I got it from Ken Sewing Center, which is based out of Alabama. And I really enjoy sewing on this thing. And I will say it's not super inexpensive, but it does have everything you need. So take that as you will. It's like the deluxe cabinet. It's awesome. It has this electric lift for the sewing machine. I have a whole video that I will be posting. We just got this. This is new this week. And so I have a whole video that I will be posting about like everything about how we got the cabinet, how it looked when it came, how we set it up. And it comes from Ken Sewing Center, and it was like just really nice to work with them. And we do have a link that for their stuff if you want to see it. I also got my machine from there. They're a Janome dealer, and they are, last time we talked to Ken, I'm pretty sure it was Ken that I was talking with. He said that he bought the last of the Janome Black HD9 sewing machines. This was a limited edition thing. I don't know why it's limited because it's such a beautiful thing. I want everyone to have one of these black sewing machines, but he bought the last of them. So if you want one of these sewing machines, I think he said he had like 100 in stock, and they go fast. So now is the only time you'll be able to get those. And I just love it. I'm gonna do more videos on this machine and why I love it so much. I've had a Bernina sewing machine for the last 11 years. I got it 11 years ago. That was like in high school. I saved up all my money and went on a Black Friday sale and got myself a Bernina, and she has been awesome. But they're different machines. So this is a straight stitch only, and it's not an industrial machine, but it's definitely like can handle more. And I'll show you how fast it can go, which is just really fun. So I am like, back to this, what I'm doing here is I am taking these and clipping these strips together. Let's see if I can get this done here. Okay, and I'll switch these cameras so that this is now the main one that you're seeing. So I am pinning these strips together, not pinning, I'm clipping them together. And the reason that we want to do that is because we naturally just stretch out our fabrics while we work with them. It's just the nature of fabric and sewing. And we want these to end up at the same length. So what we're gonna do is we clip at one end, and then we come down here and we clip at the other end. And then I give it a little pull so that it matches tension on all of these. So it matches tension as in like it's evenly stretched across the length of both pieces. And then we add a few clips to the middle. And that way we know that any excess fabric is distributed evenly across the whole length of the piece. Oh. Sorry. My husband's phone alarm went off and it scared me because it was right in my face. Okay, this is, now we're gonna sew these rows together. And I really want to keep these in order, so I'm just going to do 2 at a time and then sew those to each other. We're going to press the seams towards the blue on the white and then towards the red on the other one. That way we will have a little spot where we can nest our seams, and that always helps line things up nicely. So we'll put one here, one clip here at the top. Put one here where these seams nest. Actually just a little bit below that so I can keep the clip on while I'm going. And then one down here towards the bottom. Okay, now I trust that my pieces aren't going to be sliding around and everything, so I can go pretty fast on this machine. It's fun. There's like, it's almost like gear shifts on this thing. And on these ones, on these rows, I do backstitch. You may have noticed that throughout this whole thing, I have not been backstitching, and it's because that can add more bulk to your seams than what you need. These ones will not be tucked in to other seams on the edges of the strips. So that is why we are backstitching here. All right, so I'm making sure everything is lined up, and then just cruise. I'm gonna make sure that my seams are going the proper direction. I'm watching my needle to make sure it's going through that little nice point on all of the white blocks. This one's wrinkled, okay. And this machine loves like piecing, it's great, but it really loves going very fast and sewing over lots of layers. So binding on this thing is a dream. Even though I'm more used to doing a zigzag stitch binding, the binding on this is like so nice because it doesn't care how many layers it's sewing through. I made a bag, which bags are new to me, so I've not done a tutorial on them because there's a lot of seam ripping when I make a bag. But I like put it on this machine and it just like didn't care. I had like 2 layers of binding that was like a bias binding, so that was 4 layers by itself. And then I had 2 layers of like quilted with soft and stable, so it was like this really chunky thing, and this machine just like cruised over the top of it. It was really fun to like see that. I don't know, not that my sewing machine is actually like a pet, but it feels like it's part of my family, right? Okay, so I am looking to double check if she has any recommendations on how to pin or how to press the seams on the end. And it looks like we are going to be pressing towards the darker colors. That's the main recommendation. So let's go over here and we'll look at this for a second. Down here on this side with the blue, the colors are all just the same. But when you get up here, this is where it changes, you know, to red and white. And that is where we will base our pressing off of. Let me see if I can zoom out for you a little bit. Looks like that's all we got right now, but that's all right. So press towards the red so that the red doesn't show through on the white. And on places where you have more things coming together, so like where you have all these blocks or all these pieces from the blocks and the strips and everything coming together, just hold your iron over it a little bit longer and make sure that that pressing holds in the right spot. I also love how like low pressure this pattern is, because if I had made little tiny like actual stars that went in this size of block, I know for a fact that I would be cutting off points and they would be crooked. And I just love that this is like low pressure, because like, oh, if you cut off a little bit of this point, it's really not going to be noticeable. And it's easy to avoid cutting off the points anyways. So it's very forgiving. And that's nice. Okay, so here is like our first like section of finished pieces. I'm gonna switch back here. And so the next one, this is one of the red and white, like the longer ones. I'm gonna sew that together so that we can do our next step. Oh man, I dropped it. Like I said before, I am 36 weeks pregnant and really over it. I'm more grumpy than I care to admit these days, but it's fine. Doing things like this help me not feel like I'm gonna explode. But man, picking stuff up off the ground is not my favorite activity. So we'll make sure we backstitch here, and then we can just cruise and sew these strips together so fast. So for any of you who are still on, I'm curious about how you found us. Like, did you just come across us online, or did you meet us at trade shows? We haven't done a ton of trade shows. We have just done a couple a year. I think 2023 was our biggest year and we did 7 shows, but that was before we had our second kid. And so it was a little bit easier. I don't know, the more kids we have, the harder it is to get over to actually go and do shows. You know, it's just hard on our family, but we still like to go to Road to California. So this year, all we've done is Road to California, and then the next week there's one in Phoenix that's like the Quilt Craft Sew Festival. Those are the only ones we're planning on this year. And we would go to the one here that's local in Boise, but we didn't sign up for it because of the baby. That show is in 2 weeks, and we just didn't know. Well, we knew I wouldn't have the energy to do the show, but we didn't know like when the baby's coming, so we didn't want to like schedule and then back out. But we have done a lot of shows, so I'm just like always curious to see if like you guys have like actually met us in real life, or like if you remember us from the shows, or if you found us all online. Oh, so it looks like one of you said that anytime YouTube recommends a quilting channel, I subscribe. I saw you were live and wanted some company. Well, thanks. And remember, we're gonna be doing this every Thursday night, so we can all hang out with each other from the comfort of our own house, wearing our own pajamas or whatever else you wanna do. I'm gonna sew the rest of these long strips together. I do have one recommendation. Well, okay, I have a lot of recommendations, and I've been sharing that this whole time. But one of them is to just, while you're sewing these strips, it's so easy to run out of bobbin and not notice. And I have a hunch that mine is getting close. So I'm just watching carefully to make sure that I'm not sewing on an empty bobbin because that drives me nuts. Okay, isn't that fun how fast that can go? As long as you have your, as long as you have things pinned properly, you can just let your machine play on this. Like you can just go as fast as you want. Looks like another person, oh, so Deanna. And Deanna, I recognize your name. I've seen you order a couple times and I really appreciate it because it's fun to see, like, it's almost like familiar faces, even though, you know, I've never actually met you in person. But it's fun to see those familiar names. So it looks like she said, I found an ad for the I Spy Minky and became familiar with our table runners. So yeah, the I Spy Minky is a definite hit because that's like our own custom design. Like I drew all those little pictures. I had people help me, like other digital artists, pitch in and draw some of theirs, but I arranged it all into the fabric and have it printed. Like it's our own exclusive thing and I love it so much. So that's fun that that's where you started with us. And then our table runners have been, that was kind of like my project last year, is I wanted to make sure we had a table runner for every month. And now we have that and then some, like we have alternates. So like our God Bless America table runner, I know like not everyone's Christian. And so we have other patriotic table runner options. We also just did a run of the God Bless America table runner in Easter fabrics, which was so cute. It was like the perfect Easter table decoration. I have one more table runner pattern coming out soon, and then we're going to be moving to doing mostly bigger size quilts. So I don't want to say full size quilts because that is like a specific thing. And we're not only going to be doing full size quilts, but bigger quilts, throw quilts, baby quilts, all of that kind of thing. The next table runner that we have coming out is, well, we will be doing another one from this pattern designer. It's the Perpetual Bliss table runner. in a new colorway. So I'm gonna be doing a tutorial on how to actually put the table runner together. That will be one of our lives coming up. And we're just gonna do it in another color set. So it's not necessarily a new pattern, it's just a new version of it. But after that, the only other table runner that I have like on our radar is a birthday cake one, which is finally happening. That's been requested for forever that we come up with one of those. But the thing is like, I want my patterns to be simple, like easy to follow so that anyone can open them and make them, which means I don't do any foundation paper piecing or any hand piecing, and I try to avoid applique. Sometimes you can't. Like the turkey pattern that we have is just, it has a lot of applique, but it's so cute, so it's fine. But I just want it to be like anyone can start with any of our patterns and sew. And so sometimes it takes me a long time to kind of process how exactly we're gonna be doing a pattern. And that birthday cake was one of them. But we have the fabric. It's here, it's downstairs. It's not been cut out because like this little pile behind me in the middle right there, that's the color set for it. And it's going to be so cute. I am working on developing that sample and that pattern right now. Hopefully I can get it done before the baby comes, and it will be available as soon as possible. It really does take longer to iron and to like arrange these than it does to actually sew them. Like the sewing is the fastest part, especially with this machine that loves to go fast. So just remember, for those of you who are watching the live, our site has, we have 10% off everything on our website to thank you for watching, including this new flag kit, which is just started being available today. Oh, is my bobbin? Okay, no, there's my bobbin. If you use code QUILTPARTY, which is also shown here in the comments, then you can get 10% off anything in the store. And we're going to be doing these lives weekly, but I'm not sure if we'll have a discount every time, so I would take advantage of that while you can. Right, and I am just gonna work my way up this whole quilt. I am gonna pause on pressing these for now, and I am just gonna get this quilt top finished. And like I was saying before, this is a long video, but it's not a long project. To be able to just sit down and do this in one night, like, is so awesome. I love having things like this that I can work on and just like accomplish in one go. It's so satisfying. And I know as quilters, sometimes we just get like, we're either too excited when we buy the fabric and we're too ambitious, or we just get too overloaded with the thought of like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or it feels intimidating, or you get bored of it, or whatever it is. Like, I know that projects sit around for way too long sometimes. So my hope with the projects that we have is that they are not ones that sit around, that you see them, you get excited, we can do them together, so you know you're going to be able to do it. and then you can have something finished and fun that you made yourself. Like that is my ultimate goal. Another great thing about this machine is it has a needle threader, because I just pulled my thread out, but not a big deal because it has that built in. So that's very nice. Especially because the needle on this is like sideways. So other machines, you're looking into the eye of the needle. This is like, you have to come at it from the side. And so it's tricky, but the needle threader makes it really easy. And even though the black is a limited edition, the version of this machine is not limited edition. It's the Janome HD9. I'm not sure if there's a newer one or what the benefit of a newer one would be, but it's a straight stitch only machine, and it just is so beautiful. I saw it at a trade show years ago, I think in 2023. And I just like fell in love with it. And then this year at Christmas, my husband surprised me with it, and I was very happy. And that's when we started working with Ken's Sewing Center, because they had a cool like promo going on with it, and that's why he picked that one. And then as we've like worked with them more, it's like an awesome dealership to work with. So we definitely love them, and we'll send you guys there. Excuse me. We are getting so close on this. I'm just going to take these pieces now and sew them to their friends to make the completed length of the strip. And because these are like the nested ones, I definitely want to make sure that I am pressing this spot. And we press towards the red on this strip. And, oh, where did my other one go? There she is, okay. And then towards the white on this one. Or not towards the white, not towards the white, away from the white. So press towards the blue. And then we match them up and keep going. Looks like we've got another comment. I have a Juki TL, a straight stitch machine that I love. I was just listening to you sew and thought it sounded like a straight stitch machine right before you said it. Yeah, I don't know. They're like, I didn't even know that straight stitch machines were a thing. Like, I was like, that's kind of, the first time I heard about it, I was like, that seems kind of pointless to not have it. But now I get it because they're so fun to use. Oh, whoops, that's not, wait a second. Did I sew that on? Oh, I sewed that on backwards, dang it. Okay. Well, I guess for all these seams, just a couple seam ripping is fine, right? But that's annoying. Oh well. Now we can, it wouldn't be a sewing tutorial if I didn't do that, right? So I am gonna show you my trick for seam ripping. So my grandma was a seamstress. When she lived in England, that was like the trade that she picked. And this is what she taught me. So you go through the back and you pick out like every 6th or 7th seam or stitch and you just like cut it. And I've never seen other people do this than my grandma. And I mean, obviously like my family that she taught to, but. So you just go and break these stitches. And depending on your stitch length, you want to go further apart or closer together. Shorter ones, you have to go closer together, but. You just go all the way down your piece, and then when you go to open it, it gives it just enough of a break that sometimes you can just like rip it, and that's pretty fun, but it is like so much easier to pull out these seams. So like that popped most of them. and you don't have to spend all the time picking at all of these little spots. Good thing it was on the longest stitch that I have to unpick. Sheesh. Sometimes I'm like, this is gonna take me all night, but I mean, obviously we have to unpick it. Another fun thing about like doing this quilting as a career is, I mean, I see all of the different ideas and things on like how things are made. I spend time on YouTube watching videos. Of course, like my Instagram and Facebook algorithms are they just show me all the sewing and quilting things that I could ever, like there's too much to know, right? There's too much to absorb. But I love going in person and actually meeting people. And doing things like this too helps me get that feeling even when I am like not around other people. So this is really fun for me too. So I'm curious for people who are following along with your own kit, when you're sewing this when it's not live, how many of you sewed one of the rows on upside down? Because I bet you this is something a lot of us are going to be doing. And hopefully I only do this once. We're almost there. I've almost got it. Good thing. I did short stitch length too, so I'm like in the middle of that. I know this is not a very exciting part of the video, but it is real. Like, everyone has to do seam ripping at some point in a project. And we just all hope it's not on very complicated or very big seams, right? The worst is when we get in a quilt and like, this has only happened a couple times, but we see like in the middle of a quilt, a block is upside down or something, and people are always like, no, how did I miss that? But we'll fix it if we need to. Okay, we're down to just like 12 inches now. Okay, almost there. Good thing this wasn't a bigger quilt, because then I'd be more annoyed. I'm just already playing bobbin chicken, so this isn't gonna help that either. So if any of you who are still on, what is the worst or most annoying seam ripping job that you've had to do lately? Because I know some of these get pretty annoying. I'll go first. My least favorite unpicking job we've ever had to do was a quilt that came in and it was quilted and it was beautiful, and then we looked at the back and the tension on my machine was off and the back was just a mess and I had to fix it. We unpicked the quilting on a whole, like on a king size quilt. We unpicked the whole thing and fixed it. And the fabric wasn't in, like it was fine, like it hadn't damaged the fabric or anything, so that was good. But it was like, that was a beast to unpick that whole entire quilt. So as long as we don't have to do that, we're fine. Right here at the end. So the next lives that we do will probably be a little bit shorter than this one. They will be probably, I know the next ones coming up are going to be more specific about like how to do a specific element of the kit instead of the whole entire thing from start to finish. So they'll be a little bit faster, and you can plan for your Thursday night to come and sew together. You can grab the project that you're working on and we'll just work on it side by side. Yeah, so this one's probably one of the longer ones that we'll be doing, but again, this is our first one. We didn't know exactly how long it was going to take. I guessed between 2 to 3 hours, and we're bumping up right against 3. So that was good guessing. And the good news is this is now a tutorial. So if you or someone else that you know wants to get into quilting, you can send them this video, and like between the pattern, the video, and the kit, like any skill level should be able to tackle this thing. And you'll also see me now, I'm double checking and making sure that my things are going in the right spot. It's awesome how fast we learn our lessons, right? We're so close. There's only 3 more sets here. And then while we're here, let's talk about quilting and how we are going to finish this. So we have a long arm, and you can send in any quilt for mail-in quilting services. So that just means that you send your quilt top and your backing, send it to us, and we will put it together with the batting. Batting's included in the price, and you don't have to worry about anything. It's really nice. That's the easiest way to do it. And that's what I'm going to be doing, is putting it with putting it on my quilting machine and putting a design over the whole thing. It's really fun. And there's so much like that I can do with it. If that's not for you, then quilting something of this size on a domestic machine is actually a good size to work with, because you don't have to get anything super bulky to fit under your throat space, which is like the biggest challenge of quilting, in my opinion, like doing the machine quilting at the end. This would also be really pretty hand quilted if you're someone who has patience for that kind of thing. And the backing that comes with it is a cotton piece, so it's the same type of fabric that is on the front. It's a different print, but same type of fabric that's on the front. So it's lightweight, it's good to work through your machine, and if you send it to us, we can quilt it the way that the sample is quilted that I showed you earlier, or however you want. We have so many different edge-to-edge designs that you can pick from that anything will like, you can make it exactly like the way you like it. We don't offer a lot of custom quilting, which is when, like, for example, you might go like in the stars, like make a different design quilted in there, or have like a different design on each stripe. We don't do a lot of that because our biggest thing about our machine quilting is to be able to get it back fast. So we are committed to a 2-week turnaround time on all of our machine quilting. And that means that sometimes, or that means that we just can't do custom quilting. Sorry, I'm going to switch so I can see you can see me talking again. There we go. And in my opinion, the custom quilting, there's really not very many times when a quilt like needs custom quilting, right? Like an edge-to-edge design, if it's picked by the right, like if someone who knows what they're doing picks out the edge-to-edge design, it will make the quilt look awesome. And the person that we have quilting, her name's Becky. She's been quilting with us for 3 years, 2 years? I don't remember, but we work together a lot. Like today she came upstairs and she showed me this quilt that had come in, and we were discussing like design ideas. And then after we kind of came up with what we think would be best, then she called the customer and talked to them about their quilt and what like we think would all work best to make this quilt shine. And so like we definitely, like, even though we're fast and we still really care about every single quilt that it turns out beautifully. We are down to our last 2 strips, people, so you know my bobbin is going to run out right before we get to the end. And I love like this part of the project where things are just like, all of your hard work is about to pay off. You're about to be able to just open it up and look at it. Like, that's so fun. very last strip. And I've only had to stop and unpick seams twice. So we're really doing good on this. What do you know? My bobbin did not run out. That's fun. Okay, so one little perk. All right, we are done. Whoops, whoa, that was shaky. We are all done with this flag wall hanging quilt, wherever we're gonna use it. We finished that whole top in that time. Like, that is pretty impressive to do a project that is like heirloom quality and it's gonna be done that quickly. So I was talking about the quilting. This is how it looks. It has a light colored binding, so it doesn't like interrupt the flag. You know, we tried other colors and stuff, but I think the light color off-white looks the best. This design is one of the Paisley designs, and it turned out really pretty. It's perfect with the florals and everything. So I'll probably do something similar on my own here. And all that's left to do is to press it and get it quilted. So it's really simple, and you can have one of these whipped up way before the America's 250th birthday because we did that really fast. So for all of you who have watched, whether you were just on for a minute or you stayed and sewed with me the whole time, thank you so much, because it's people like you who helped grow this into something that I get to do full time, and bringing people more power to be creative is like my favorite thing in the world. Plus, it's like really fun to do sewing as a job. So thank you to everybody who supports us, and join us next week. We'll have a live that's a little bit shorter, but we'll be working on a new version of one of our patterns that is already on our website. And as I said before, right now until midnight, it's 10% off everything on our site if you use the code QUILTPARTY. You can get one of these kits, an iron, pre-cuts, any of our table runner kits or Minky panels. It's 10% off your whole purchase, so thank you again for joining us.